Coming up on City Spotlight, the focus is on Effingham. With the Mayor of Effingham, Jeff Bloemker. We will discuss the recent meeting on recycling in Effingham, plus the latest infrastructure and retail development in Effingham, and we will check out the Effingham County Museum and talk with Delaine Donaldson of the Effingham County Cultural Center and Museum Association. Stay tuned, that's all next on City Spotlight. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com. And we're back for this latest episode of City Spotlight. Today we're talking about Effingham, and we welcome back to the program the Mayor of Effingham, Jeff Bloemker.
Hi, Ramin.
Pleasure to have you on, Jeff. We had you on there at the end of May, start of June, and saw you just a few days ago in Effingham. About 5 days ago before this taping, there was a meeting at City Hall involving recycling in Effingham.
Right.
And I was stuck in the back row. It was standing room only, lots of people, lots of comments, and it was kind of prefaced at the beginning of that meeting. It was kind of like a fact-finding mission. And you've had 5 days to digest all that transpired. I noticed City Manager Jim Arndt took about 5 pages of notes. What did you learn, Jeff?
Well, we learned that there's a very passionate core of advocates that would like to see a recycling program initiated in Effingham, and of course that's a good thing. And it's just I have found in the past year and a half of being mayor of Effingham that it's something that's easier said than done. It's very difficult that in terms of being able to attract a service provider that's willing to manage a recycling program, let's say a sanitation service type group. It gets tricky because the market fluctuates, and inevitably you can't make money at it, is what I'm told. So somewhere in there, someone's got to provide the safety net, and either that's the city of Effingham, and do you do that by robbing Peter to pay Paul, robbing some other project to fund the recycling? Do you raise taxes, which is a bad phrase, you know? They don't want to see us do that. Or how do you skin that cat, so to speak? And we're going to basically a good idea that came out of that was to pull together a grassroots advisory committee, which we've done that for other topics, and I love that. I love to pull together grassroots advisory groups that can feed information to us and help assimilate the general expectations of the community. And I think we'll at some point be reaching out to the professionals out there who do sanitation service and start talking about, well, what can you do for us, when can you do it, and what would it cost, and how do we structure that relationship? It's possible the free market can even take care of that issue on its own. The main thing is that the people came in and they help us to understand what they're looking for. We brought in the professionals to help us set expectations, proper expectations. But it was interesting to hear some of the people who've moved to Effingham from other areas where they do recycling. And so we got some good ideas in that sense. And of course, we let the city team tell us a little bit about their experiences and their research in the past. But I think we're going to be able to pull it together and take a nice baby step in that direction very soon.
Yeah, I agree on the comment of a lot of the folks that have just moved here and some of their experiences in the previous places they lived, and the comments you had from there's 2 professionals you had there. One of them came from Bloomington, and yeah, you're going to have to rely on some of that expertise in the people that are already doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had some offers of the people who know what they're doing, have been there quite a bit, and they're willing to give us some good advice and guidance. So I think we're in good shape as we start to head in that direction.
Are you going to have meetings moving forward, monthly, weekly, quarterly? How do you move forward from having this first meeting?
Well, again, we'll pull together this advisory committee, but then at the same time, simultaneously, we'll start reaching out to the professionals and start having some initial conversations about, okay, we heard what's out there. We kind of, the expectations have kind of been set, and how do we pull this together? What can you do for us? So.
Very good. Interesting topic. Glad I was able to be there, and a lot of good information from a lot of folks in Effingham that would like some recycling.
It was a good night for Effingham.
Let's move on to and this is kind of, I categorized some of these things, Jeff, you wanted to talk about. It's infrastructure and retail economic development. They could probably overlap a little bit. So let's kind of start with some infrastructure and the Kerner's distribution facility. There's a new facility there. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, Kerner Distributors, they've been a part of Effingham for decades. They are a beverage distributor, beer, wine, juices, waters, and so forth. Great corporate citizen. And they've grown exponentially over the past decade or two, and they're in a hodgepodge of buildings right now there in the Effingham Industrial Park. And so I think the Kerners told me that I'm maybe the fourth mayor or third mayor that they've dealt with and trying to get something put together. But things just fell into place for us, and we were able to get them set up where we traded some property with the city, but we're going to move them a little further into the industrial park. They're going to build a 200,000 square foot state-of-the-art distribution center. It'll look great, and we'll be really proud to have them. It'll be a showcase for the industrial park.
Okay, very good. I'll move on down my list here. The John Booz, hopefully I'm pronouncing that, John Booz wood plant.
The oldest manufacturer in Effingham. Again, they're growing exponentially. They've gotten into the stainless steel market over the past decade, let's say, and that's grown big time for them. So they opened up a stainless steel shop down on South Route 45, built a new facility a few years ago. They still have their wood shop, which is kind of right there on Fayette in the downtown area of Effingham, and it's certainly time for them to update that. And so what's going to happen is a deal was cut a couple of years ago whereby the city will take over all their property, and the city's has made space for them down on South Route 45. This will be just south of their metal plant, but they'll build a nice new facility for their woodworking operations. So we're pleased with that.
Okay, you wanted to talk about some of the truck centers, some concrete work being done?
Well, there's something else there, just real quick there on South Route 45. So you'll have the wood plant for John Booz Company, then you'll have their metal plant. Then just north of that, we just set up a situation where South Central FS, Farm Supply, is going to put a feed mill operation right there next. So we're gonna have a lot of new activity on South Route 45, which is a good thing. There's a lot, So now, back to the truck activity. We're seeing some real interest, which makes sense with Effingham, with two interstates crisscrossing. We always have had truck interest, but it's really starting to catch momentum. We've got several trucking interest truck centers. They not only broke ground, but they're in the process of pouring concrete for their operation. They have about 12 different trucking operations around the country. They sell, lease, and service big over-the-road trucks and trailers and so forth. And we'll be building Gillenwater Avenue through there. A lot of infrastructure development going on, and actually changing the way the truck trail flows. But this is all out on West Fayette, out by the interstates. Palmer Trucking out of Indianapolis, and they sell and lease different brands. But then there's a Joe's Lube, which basically gets into servicing the trucking industry. That's all going on out there. So we're trying to. Effingham continues to be seen as a hub for the trucking industry in general.
Triangle District. What do you have on that?
Triangle Business District. This is, I believe, our third business district that the city's put together. These are being set up to take the place of the TIF districts. The TIF districts are going to fade away, I believe, in 2021. The Triangle Business District comes in and puts a 1% tax on certain retail items. Usually not the big ticket things like cars or boats or anything like that, but typically the smaller retail items. And it's called Triangle because the way it's being set up is like a triangle, but it's along Keller Drive, down Fayette, and then uses the interstate as the other border, and so it creates a triangle. But very important for the growth of Effingham. Kind of takes into account the southern part. Everyone talks about Keller Drive in Effingham on the other side of the interstate with all the restaurants and so forth, all the activity. Well, now we're moving south. We're trying to create development on the other side, the south side of the interstate, there on Keller Drive, which makes all the sense in the world. So that's the important aspect there. Plus, we see a lot of development on the West Fayette side of things down there.
On the last time you were here, you were joined by the fire chief and police chief, and we talked about some of the things going on with them. Let's start with the police. We talked about the possibility of a new police station and the 4 new officers that will be coming their way very soon.
Right. Yeah, public safety is a big deal right now, as we all know. I mean, it's a hot topic. It's something where we had to bite the bullet and raise our taxes a little bit. Made that decision last year. So we'll be hiring 4 new police officers. We had 6 officers retire back in, I believe it was 2004, if I'm not mistaken. So they've gone about 10 or 12 years running short, so to speak, trying to prove the need. Well, they finally got a council that understood that, and given all the things that are going on in this world, and given the fact that 36,000 cars pass through Effingham every day, we felt like we needed to address that need. So 4 new officers will be coming on board this year. As well, when I came on board as mayor a year and a half ago, they took us on a tour of all the buildings. That's part of the orientation process. Went through the police department, and I was appalled. I was just embarrassed. I said, guys, I'm the chief sales representative for Effingham, and I love to take people around Effingham and talk about Effingham, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not bringing anyone to our police department. And so, I mean, it's not only the appearance and the functionality, but there's some compliance issues, and it really was just time to address that. And the rest of the city council agrees. And so we've had an architect had a team working on this with an architect, FGM out of St. Louis, and this is what they do. They specialize in these things. So it's going to be a real nice project. Probably come in about $7 or $8 million. Triple the size of what we currently have now, but it's set up appropriately. With the fire department, we've just hired a new assistant fire chief.
Right.
His name's Matt Kaliza, and again, that's a position that's been open for about 10 or 12 years.
Wow.
We finally decided that this was the appropriate time. The former building official, Bruce Duvall, just retired, so we also hired a new building official. Her name's Michelle Wilkins, and these two, between the assistant fire chief and the building official, make up what we call the permitting team. The building official approves the site plans and the building plans and so forth up front. The assistant fire chief comes in and does an inspection afterwards and says everything looks good. Before, the building fire code inspections were being done by a variety of staff firemen, and that was causing some inconsistencies. And so now we feel like we've got one person doing it. It's going to be consistent. They're working well and communicating with the building official, and so the permitting process, which is a big deal to the developers and the construction community in the region. So we think we've got a real nice mechanism with this permitting team set up.
And a big announcement's going to be coming. This show is airing in the middle of September, so this announcement will have been official at this time, but on September 20th, there'll be an announcement of a big box retailer. That's something you talked about the last time you were on at the end of May.
Yeah, and I have to apologize, Ramin. We've been teasing you with this for about a year now, but I think we're finally going to be able here within the next month. We're finally going to be able to make the announcement. I think people will be excited about it. It's a big box retailer, general merchandise type stuff, and it'll complement what the need in Effingham. And again, Effingham is evolving right now into a retail, restaurant, and entertainment hub, and so this is going to fit right in there, and it's going to give people a reason to come to Effingham to shop and play and stay. So we're excited about it, and hopefully we'll be able to tell you for sure on September 20th.
We'll follow up on that the next time you're on. We'll pass. Chipotle opens up on September 24th.
Yeah.
And can you please talk a little bit about the new CEO hired with the Alliance Community Economic Development Organization?
Yeah, again, the Alliance is it's an economic development group put together of all the businesses in the area. They put together a war chest, and their intent is to get out and sell Effingham, to basically be a turbo button for the city and the county's economic development efforts. And again, it's countywide, it's not just the city of Effingham. Right. But got some brilliant minds in there in terms of business and economic development. And so, yeah, they've made great progress here just in the past couple of weeks. They hired a new CEO they're bringing in from Pennsylvania. He's a professional from the industrial development world, industrial real estate activities, and so has a lot of networks. His name's Craig Nielsen. So he'll be coming on board here, I believe, the 1st of October, maybe a little later in September. And again, their job is to team up, and they get out and find the leads, get out there and sell Effingham. And when they find a hot lead, they do a warm handoff over to the city of Effingham, and we sit down and try to come up with an incentive package to bring them in.
All right, very good. Let's talk a couple of events, Jeff, as you've transitioned from summer to the fall here, and Corvette Fun Fest is taking place as this program is airing, and always a big draw for Effingham. A lot of people coming in for that.
Biggest Corvette show in the world. I mean, if you like cars, you got to come to Corvette Fun Fest. It is it just takes your breath away to be standing in the middle of that show field and see all these incredible cars, ranging from $5,000 or $10,000 cars up to $200,000 cars, and they're just beautiful. But people come from all over the world. They have there on Thursday. Let's see. Now that show. Yeah, again, that's September 15th through 18th. So night of September 15th is a Thursday. They all show up downtown Effingham, just line up all the way down the street and around the courthouse. Beautiful cars from all over the country, and it's a lot of fun.
In October, quickly some events. You have the Craft Beer Festival. You've talked about that the last couple times.
Yes, I believe that's the first first weekend of October, and I believe that's October 7th. But there's a group of people that have been talking about putting together a craft beer festival, and I believe Kerner Distributors is putting their shoulder to this, and so we're looking at bringing in some big name craft beers.
We have Chili Fest on October 14th, and you have a big name country artist coming October 15th. Luke Bryan will be in town.
Yeah, that's one that's really exciting. They called us all in back in January. They had his advance team came in. They were just kind of specking out Effingham, trying to determine this is the smallest venue they'll ever play in, Effingham. But Mike Yeager out there at Mid-America Motor Works and his team have been working on this group for some time now, and they finally attracted them. And of course, they are experts at outdoor events, as we just discussed with Corvette Fun Fest. So they know how to handle the crowds and so forth. But the Luke Bryan tour is really fascinating. I mean, they tour all year long, of course. Totally self-contained. They come in about 5 or 6 in the morning with about, I think, 25 semis and 16 tour buses. They bring their own stage. They handle all their own parking, their own security, food, beverages, everything. They handle everything. Bathrooms. It'll be an event type or a festival type seating where they just open up the festival area and you come on in, first come, first serve in terms of where you position yourself there in front of the stage. And music gets going about 6 or 7 o'clock, shuts down about 10 or 11, and they're out of town, lock, stock, and barrel by about 3 or 4 in the morning. I mean, that's just they know exactly what they're doing. We're really looking forward to this. We're hoping that we prove ourselves so that we can bring other big names. In that world, word of mouth really sells those types of concerts, those big names like that. And so we're hoping that Effingham does a good job with this. We know Mid-America Motor Works will, but Effingham as a city and county hopefully will step up and do a good job of taking care of people when they come and enjoy the concert.
In our next segment, we're going to talk about the Effingham County Museum. I was fortunate enough to talk with Delaine Donaldson there, and what can you say about that facility? It's the former courthouse, and
yes.
Lots of great history in there for the folks. It's kind of captured for not just people in Effingham, but the whole county.
Yeah, those people, I'm so doggone proud of them. I was kind of keeping track of that. I was involved with them a little bit when they first got going about that. They've been looking at this for 10 or 15 years, trying to find a place for a museum. We knew we needed a museum in Effingham. We have these incredible historians in Effingham. I mean, very, very scholarly, very passionate about Effingham history and Illinois history. And so when the county decided to build a new government building, of course, then the old courthouse became available. Now, the hard part here was there's some people who want to tear that down and make a parking lot because we to create more parking downtown, and we knew that couldn't happen. We just knew that couldn't happen. And these people, they had so many doors shut in their face. They had so many obstacles thrown at them, but they persevered. They put their shoulder to it. They've worked so hard. They painted the place themselves, done a lot of the work themselves. They've brought in other people who are craftsmen to help rehabilitate the building, and it's just something that I'm so proud of that building and what it represents and what it does for like everything from kids to tourists who want to come in and learn about Effingham and its history. Again, I can't say enough about these people. They're true heroes. They really are community heroes. It's just a real asset for the community. The Effingham County Cultural Center and Museum is just a fantastic place.
All right, can't wait to show people that segment there with Delaine and Mayor of Effingham, Jeff Bloemker. It's been a pleasure having you on again, Jeff.
So always great to be here with you, Ramin. Thank you.
Look forward to hearing follow-ups on all the things that we talked about here in a later date.
You got it.
All right. Coming up next here on City Spotlight, we're going to go check out the Effingham County Museum with Delaine Donaldson, Effingham County Cultural Center and Museum Association. But first, let's take a look at some of those upcoming activities going on in Effingham. And we're back here on City Spotlight, this episode on Effingham. We've left the studio and we're inside now at the former Effingham County Courthouse, now the Effingham County Museum. And to tell us all about it and the history is Delaine Donaldson of the Effingham County Cultural Center and Museum Association.
Correct.
Welcome, Delaine. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here.
Glad I got the title right. Very good.
Yes, indeed.
Excellent. Got a lot of questions about the history of this building and what it is now, which is the Effingham County Museum. First off, Delaine, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I understand you're from Effingham.
I am from Effingham. I was born at St. Anthony Hospital back in 1943 during World War II. My dad was in the service at that time, and so I lived on a farm with my mother at her parents' house for a couple of years. Then we moved to Effingham. I've lived here ever since.
All right, so you've seen all the growth through the
I
recent
have
years.
Indeed.
Excellent, very good. All right, so this is the former Effingham County Courthouse. When was the last year it was in operation as the courthouse?
In 2007, it was vacated by the county.
Okay, very good. And now today it is the Effingham County Museum. So let's start with the history of this building, the facility. When did it get here, and why did it get here, and who are maybe some instrumental people that helped it get here?
Okay, I might mention that the very first county seat of Effingham County was a place called Ewington, which today is just a cemetery and nothing more than that. And then right before the Civil War, the county voted to transfer the county seat to Effingham from Ewington. That was because the Illinois Central Railroad had come through by that time. The National Road, which was the very first federal highway, had already been coming through this area. People had been traveling through this area since the 1830s. And so there was this crossroads that was here, and make it a very convenient spot. And so business people got together. There were a couple of land developers who already had put this town into place in the 1850s. And so they decided that they would donate the property where the courthouse could be built, and then there were, I think, 5 or 6 businessmen who said, we'll provide the funds for building the courthouse. Now, that was not this courthouse that we're in right now. The first courthouse that was here was built in 1860. Then in 1869, that courthouse burned down, and immediately thereafter, the county offices were kind of scattered to buildings around the courthouse square, but in 1870, the county voted to build this building. And so, again, the community just pulled together, and they wanted a place that would really showcase who the people of the area are and attract people to the community, because the assumption was this is going to be a bustling community in the future. So I've always had this love of history. I have found several other people in Effingham County, and especially here in the community, that share that very great interest with me. And so we had talked for several years prior to the opportunity of using this building about the need to have a place where we could tell Effingham's story. And so we began to organize back in the late 1990s. We began to organize ourselves into an organizational structure where we could bring together artifacts. We had one lady, a woman named Kate Borland, who rented a storage building, or a couple of storage buildings, where she collected all this massive amount of material. And we were so grateful to her for doing that. She is now deceased, but she did so much to help us get kind of always the incentive. We have to find some place where we can put all of this, you know. Okay, I might mention this, that in 2014 we received a call from a lady who identified herself as a person who was working with a White House office, and she said, we have been skimming newspapers. She said, that's part of what we do here, scanning newspapers. And she said, and we found a story about the Effingham County project. And she said, we want to know more about you people. And so she sent me some forms to fill out, and just a couple of months beyond that point, we got a letter, and it said, you have been selected as one of the groups that will be awarded a special prize from the White House. Michelle Obama's signature was on the bottom of the document. And that special prize was the fact that by 2014 we had put 40,000 hours of labor into the building. Now, labor takes a lot of forms in doing this, okay? Some of it is, there's a lot of paperwork that has to be done.
Right.
There is the physical labor of painting, of sanding, of tearing out partitions, of redoing, taking out things that weren't there originally. Just a host of things like that. We have a lot of people who have to make plans on how do we set up the exhibits, how do we make things so that they're presentable to the people. So by 2014, we had 40,000 hours that we had put in as a collective body. And we have continued full steam ahead since that time. So I'm not certain. We've not kept an accurate track, right now, but I would guess we probably have close to that amount again.
I guess all those hours paid off. A tremendous honor for you guys.
It was indeed. Mm-hmm.
What is, you want to talk about the mission of the Museum Association. Can you talk about that, please?
Well, when we started, we wanted to do three things. One was that we wanted to preserve the building. This building was in danger of being leveled. There were people inside the county who said, take a bulldozer to it, knock it down. It's old, basically was the attitude, and turn it into a parking lot. So our first concern was, how can we preserve the building? That took us to really formally organize, become a 501c3, a not-for-profit organization. So we did that and got that status really quickly in 2009. And then we began to say, okay, now if we have the right, after we had signed an agreement with the county to lease the building for 25 years, we can preserve the building. What do we need to do next? Well, there was a lot of restoration work. So part of our mission was, let's restore as much as we possibly can. And we began to do that. That will be an ongoing process probably for several years in the future. And then the third thing was to operate as a museum that would showcase the local history, that would be a tourist draw, but also a kind of an adjunct to the local schools. We have a lot of school groups who come through here. We have a lot of military material in here. This is not a military museum, but it has a lot of military material in it. Correct. And so what we have really tried to do is to tell the stories of people who have acts of heroism. And so I am very proud of the fact that we have been able to tell the stories. We also tell the stories of a lot of important personalities from this area that have been hidden. Ada Kepley, for instance, right. The very first woman to receive a law degree anywhere in the world. She was from Effingham, Illinois. We've hidden her. We have other people, a gentleman from Mason, Illinois, which is a little town here in Effingham County, who was the very first student at the University of Illinois, Dr. James Newton Matthews. He was a well-known poet, wrote articles for newspapers all across America. He had a lot of contributions he made to lower grade reading classes with his poetry. When the hospital fire occurred in Effingham back in 1949, there were some real heroes who were there on the hospital staff, and we tried to tell their story, and the like.
We've had a great time here. Glad you let City Spotlight here in the Effingham County Museum. Thank you for your thoughts on the courthouse and museum. Delaine Donaldson of the Effingham County Cultural Center and Museum Association. Thank you for taking the time to be on City Spotlight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And that'll do it for this edition of City Spotlight. We thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com.